Hi, welcome to IU Theater Thursdays. I'm your host, Taylor Ward, and we'd like to start tonight's broadcast by interviewing one of our students. Please welcome musical theater senior Taylor Ward. Hi, Taylor. Conan, it's so good to see you. Listen, it has long been a dream of mine to be on the Conan O'Brien show, and to now be sitting here being interviewed by the one and only, it's a privilege. So, hashtag Team Coco. Actually, I'm not Conan. I'm Taylor. I was wondering why the paycheck was so small. Well, how are you? I'm doing good. I mean, what's not to love about 2020? You look good. Thanks, you too. It'll take me a minute to get over the forehead, but I'll be okay. I thought I was at the drive-in movie theater for a minute. Then I realized that was your face. Thank you. I mean, it's like it has its own zip code, really. So tell us about... It's like a beacon. Forget lighthouses. If we need to guide ships into shore, we'll just have you do pirouettes on the beach. Tell us about the shows you've been involved in at IU and what you've taken from those experiences. Well, you may know me from my work as Shoeshine/Gaines in the main stage musical City of Angels. But what you may not know is that I actually had a starring role in University Players' production of Triassic Park. Triassic Park was a musical. It was Jurassic Park from the dinosaurs' perspective, and my back still hurts from carrying that show. After Triassic, my agent called me, and he said, listen, there's this new show. It's about these two girls that moved to New York. It's called Wonderful Town. You'd be playing, and I just stopped him, and I was like, is my name above the title? And he was like, no, but you'll be playing 12 different characters. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I did that. And after Wonderful Town, I had my career-defining performance in Big Fish last year. I played Amos Calloway, who is a circus ringmaster, and they put me in a corset for that show. So my waist was almost as thin as my patience for people that don't wear masks. And what are your future plans? Well, it's a little up in the air right now, and it's just a moving target with these unprecedented times. So as of right now, I would just say it depends, and fingers crossed. We'll just have to see. Are you excited for the coming school year? Well, 2020 has been rough, but nothing has been as bad as my wolf sounds in Big Fish. So I think the worst is behind us. Well, thanks for being here. It was good to see you. Thanks for having me. I'll see you in the mirror. And I think you're a great host, but I think we should bring Rich back. You're close, but I love him in a beard. Sounds good. Thanks. Thanks, Conan. Bye-bye. Hi, welcome to IU Theater Thursdays. I'm your host, Taylor Ward, and we've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be hearing from the cast and creatives of the IU Mainstage show, The Servant of Two Masters. We're going to be meeting our new playwriting professor, Diana Grisanti. We're going to be continuing our tribute to the musical theater class of 2021. And then at the end, we'll be interviewing our very own department chair, Linda Pizzano. And then she will be announcing our 2020-2021 season. But first, we'd like to welcome RJ Hottie, the director of The Servant of Two Masters. Hi, RJ. How are you?
Hi, Taylor. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Where are you quarantining from?
Erie, Pennsylvania. Dreary Erie, the mistake on the lake.
Well, look at you with those zingers. So tell us a little bit about The Servant of Two Masters, what it is, and how you approached directing that show.
Well, The Servant of Two Masters is a comedy written by Carlo Goldoni, and it is unique in the history of Commedia dell'arte because most of that performance heritage is not scripted. So really what he had done in this instance was take a tale of mistaken identity and crossed lovers, like so many plays we've seen before, that was part of a strictly performed heritage and then put it into scripted form. So a lot of the scenes, stories, and scenarios that come up in The Servant of Two Masters, the most famous of which is the dinner scene in which the central character, Truffaldino, the servant of the two masters, is racing back and forth between two rooms, trying to serve two masters their dinner at once without the other knowing that he's already employed by the other. And so these are bits that would come up in comedic performances that actors would perform. And what Goldoni did is he just really put it into a script. And so it's kind of endured as one of the classic comedies of the Italian Restoration era.
So Commedia dell'arte, tell us a little bit about that and what are some of the challenges and rewards of doing a show in that style?
Sure. Well, Commedia dell'arte is sort of the Western theater's root comedic performance tradition. So that is where we get a lot of the stock characters that have endured throughout time that we still have to this day. So one of the classics that I like to refer to is Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, who is the curmudgeonly old man who is very stingy steward of his money, very high status character, usually very uncouth and irreverent, is a character imprint that certain actors would adopt and become very skilled at. And for most of the Commedia tradition's history, it was a masked performance. So actors would wear masks and they would interchange those masks and they would perform these stock characters. Truffaldino being an Arlecchino, sort of the overgrown man-child. The Capitano, who was the, very braggadocio, loud mouth, more bark than bite. The Pantalone, the Colombina, the various servants. And what these actors would do is they would travel around Italy and then later most of continental Europe, and they would perform these skits and these characters interchangeably with each other depending on where they were. And then those characters endured throughout time and they make their way in Shakespeare's plays, they make their way in contemporary sitcoms, all kinds of movies. You can see their legacy throughout comedy today.
That's cool. So real quick, what were some of the unique leadership lessons that you learned from doing this production?
Well, I think the one that I will remember the most is when we were confronted with the reality that the production was not going to happen for a full public audience. So I had to react to what was happening and make decisions quickly in the best interest of not what I wanted, which of course what I wanted was for everybody to see the show perfectly polished and rehearsed with all of its accoutrement, all of the finishings, and in its full glory. But as the pandemic hit and it became increasingly evident that we weren't going to return from spring break, or at least that's what my instinct was, I had to start thinking about everybody's needs, and that included the actors who were graduating seniors who had never been on a main stage and them getting to perform in front of somebody, the designers who needed a performance with actors on it so that we could get photographs for their portfolio. And just there was a need for the department to have one good laugh together before we all separated. And I'm really glad we did that, but it was hard. That was the enduring leadership lesson that I learned.
I'm sure that's tricky, but very, very fascinating to hear that perspective. So we'd like to keep you on and bring on now Aaron Barnett, the costume designer, and Philip Snyder, the stage manager from the production. Hi, Philip. Hi, Aaron.
Hello.
Hi, Taylor.
How are you both doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good.
Doing just fine.
Good. So starting with Philip, tell us a little bit about your process as a stage manager, and when you are first signing on to a show, what are your first steps that you take?
The first thing I like to do, as everybody else on the production, is familiarize myself with the show or refamiliarize myself with the show. And as I'm going through it, I like to look for areas that may be problematic down the road, areas where we might have lots of people on stage, or whenever we have to use specific protocols like fights and weapons, or any special effects that may be used, and just trying to keep an eye out for them and know who I need to ask about them and what the plans are for them. After that, I want to connect with the rest of the team because the primary role of a stage manager during the rehearsal process is communication, and just making sure everybody knows what everybody else is doing. So you have to have that information to give that information to everybody else. So meeting with the director, knowing how they want me to act in the room, and how they expect me to help them the best. Talking with the designers, again, just getting as much information as possible, and knowing any big concepts or ideas they may have, such as large costume pieces or specific set elements that we need to keep in mind in rehearsals. And then I want to meet with the assistant stage managers because we're going to be spending a lot of time together. They need to know, one, who I am as a person, how I like to work in the room, and what I expect from them. And so making sure they have all the information they need. But the biggest thing in preparation is doing as much ahead of time as possible, because you don't want to get in the room and realize you don't have something, because that's a big problem. Having all my templates ready, having as much paperwork done ahead of time, and things like that.
And Aaron, tell us a little bit about your approach to this play, and how is it similar to or different from other shows that you've worked on?
Yeah, I think, the way that I approach most plays is, talking to the director, talking to the other designers, and kind of figuring out how we want to, represent the play aesthetically, and, what sort of ideas and themes we want to focus on, and draw out overall. And this was, sort of similar. So we began talking with RJ and the other designers and sort of decided that what we wanted to really focus on was this idea of artifice and sort of mistaken identity as like revealing these central truths about the characters. We knew that we weren't going to use masks, so we sort of came up with this idea of the costumes functioning as the mask. So the costumes saying very like specific and like archetypal things about the different characters. So I think like in that way, it was different than other shows I've worked on because we sort of boiled the characters down to very essential words that we focused on in order to be very specific.
That's fascinating to hear. So before we bring on the cast, I want to hear from each of you just real quick. Did you have any specific ideas in your area of the production that you really, really especially wish that an audience had gotten to see?
Aaron's costumes.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess all of the costumes sort of just, I would have liked to see on people moving because that's always fun. I was excited about Pantalona's costume and Smeraldina's costume because those were both builds. So I think those would have been cool to see on stage.
The shoes were amazing.
They were fun.
I think, yeah, for me, it was the costumes because the set really was, even though it wasn't nearly everything we wanted, the production team there was just able to push that out a lot faster for us. And so we had a lot of those pieces there. The costume shop was simultaneously working on the musical, Our Town. Not Our Town.
Crazy for You.
Crazy for You. Yes, thank you. And so, the costumes were nearly there, but we couldn't put them up. And they really were so elemental in the way the actors were thinking about their characters and the way they were playing with their costumes and the accessories that Aaron was providing them. And of course, actors always, this, Taylor, sort of amp up their performance when they are in their character's skin. And this show, I think, would have really benefited from that. And so that was the really big disappointment. I really wanted to see, and the wigs. We had wigs. We had great wigs.
Yeah.
Well, I wish we all could have seen it, but I'm glad we got to bring you guys on now to tell us a little bit about it. Any other ideas you wanted to throw out there before we bring on the cast?
I would just add also that we had some really great music and sort of sound play that was part of this production, and I think that is another element that really would have brought it to life.
Well, thank you guys for being here. I want to keep you on for just a few more minutes while we bring on the cast. So I'd like to welcome some of the cast members of The Servant of Two Masters. I'll have them introduce themselves here in a moment as they come on. Hello, welcome everybody.
How's it going?
Hi.
Good. All right, so cast members, go ahead and just introduce yourself. Let's start with Connor. Just say your name and your year and your role in the show.
For sure. So I'm Connor Starks. I am a rising senior coming in here, so that's exciting. And I played Silvio, so that was fun.
Hi, I'm Marshall Mahler. I'm also a rising senior, and I played the first waiter.
Hi, my name is Abhishek Sonimende, and I'm a rising sophomore, and I played the second waiter.
We got the wait staff here today.
Yeah, we're here.
So
we're counted for.
The three of you, tell us a little bit about how we talked about Commedia dell'arte. Tell us a little bit about how that changes your approach to portraying your character.
Yeah, I think it's always funny. You know, we talked a lot about this in our rehearsals. You know, as actors, we're trained to, you know, all these terms that are thrown at us in our acting classes, you know, moment before, our objective, our super objective, the tactics we use to reach that super objective, you know, all these things. But in this show, you know, whether it's just Commedia dell'arte in general or specifically The Servant of Two Masters, all that's just kind of thrown out the window, right? And our tactics and all these, they're just boiled down to very essential human needs. Like RJ always puts it so much better, but, you know, I'm hungry, or I'm in need of love or power or status or something like that. So all of a sudden you have this full show where the actors are reacting and behaving based on pure human needs. And I always thought, you know, I was the first waiter. And so on, you know, first glance, you could think that could just be a background character, you know, that is sitting there or, you know, serving water or putting down a tablecloth. But in this show, you know, there's a story behind him. And so I always thought of it like, okay, the first waiter, you know, I don't have very complex objectives. My one objective is to be the best damn waiter there is. You know, I am going to master the art of pouring water. I am going to master, and Abhishek, the second waiter, you know, I slap him around a little bit because he just cannot master the art of how to dust, you know, and that's funny about it, you know, just that I care, like being a waiter is all I have. It's all I can, you know, all I have in life. So I'm going to be the best there is. And that was so fun to play with. And also the difficult part, but it was very gratifying to see those come to life.
Yeah, and going off of Marshall, being the second waiter, you know, my objectives were, if I'm going to be someone, I'm going to be the first waiter, either sooner or later. Marshall was the god. Like, I mean, when I looked at Marshall, I was like, this is who I want to be when I grow up. And I was already old, so I don't know when I was going to, you know, be Marshall. But yeah, my character, I had, you know, a lot of fun playing him because I had no lines. So all my acting was physical, and I was trying to think that, man, it's gonna be hard to play an act without any lines. But then I asked RJ, and then he said, "Live in the moment. When you're acting, you know, be funny. Whatever you would do if you had no lines. What if you couldn't, you know, speak?" And I was just thinking, okay, well, if I couldn't speak, I would probably be very confused. So I just tried to play very confused and, oh my God, am I gonna, make Marshall happy? Will I be at least somewhat of a waiter? But, we just tried our best to, wait, I guess.
Yeah.
And just to give you context here, usually the show comes after everybody starts, figuring out their characters, and but for this particular production, we blocked the thing in 3 days, and then we started rehearsals. So it was one of those things where yes, the show is there, like the structure, the blocking, all of that, and from there we got to figure out some more of the characters, some more of the motivations, some more of the characters really sort of they were the meat of this thing, as opposed to the plot, as opposed to the gags, the Lazzi, all that stuff. So for my part, I I was having a lot of trouble going in because Silvio on the page is just this terrible person, and I could not for the life of me figure out why he was funny. I had no clue. I was like, this guy is just the embodiment of everything I hate about toxic masculinity. For really want to dive into it. And so as the show kept going on and going on, I realized, oh no, he's funny, because of that, because he's a terrible person. But he's more of an Eddie Haskell kind of guy, where he puts on sort of the nice, proper persona, and then you have the mask, and then you have the counter mask. And the counter mask is, no, I'm really just like a vile, evil, angry, want to be violent and scrap with people sort of guy. So that was a lot of fun to sort of figure out. Because man, I mean, Phil and RJ can attest, I was really freaking out about it early on. So yeah.
It's the servant of two waiters is what it is. So, real quick, thank you all for being here. I just want to go around with all of you and just say a few words about your individual experiences with the final run through of the show that you all did. Just talk to us. We'll start with RJ. Just talk to us a little bit about what that was like.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm scared to say that I'm worried in my life I will never feel that again. And that is because it was the most seminal, ephemeral, theatrical moment I have ever experienced. I was in such terror for my actors, who I had only told 48 hours earlier, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm going to bring in an audience. And so it was really, really scary. I was terrified for them, but I also just had so much adrenaline pumping through my veins, and I was so thrilled for them. So, but they slayed it, both of the shows, and it was so memorable.
Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, it was just something that was really special, because you knew this was it. And so it was just the energy, not just from everybody that was on stage, which was amazing, but just in the audience, you could just feel everybody was just so excited to be there and to watch it and to be a part of this. And everyone just needed a laugh, honestly. So it was great.
Philip?
Just being able to see everybody pull together at that last second, and things were changing every minute, and we didn't know what was going to be happening, and trying to maximize our efforts into getting. And when we decided we were doing the two performances for an audience, trying to figure out what was going to be on the stage and what wasn't, and just we knew it was going to be messy, and we knew it was going to be fun, and just how to make the most of it.
I'm not actually a part of the department, and so I've been so grateful to be a part of the theater community. It's been a tremendous honor to be in 3 main stages and several other independent projects, and so every time I'm on stage, I really relish in it. And so even though it didn't end how I wanted it to, I'm so grateful for RJ for inviting people, even though it was maybe 50 a night, And yeah, no costumes, hardly any lighting, just wearing shoes, and I was wearing a baseball tee and sweatpants. People were calling line every other couple minutes, but still it was really magical. And RJ put it so well. It's like, you either saw it or you didn't. And that's what makes it so unique. And yeah, it didn't reach fruition, or at least the fruition that we had anticipated or had hoped, but it still really was something that I'll always remember, have fond memories, and, developed me as an actor. And so will always be grateful.
Well, it's almost pure commedia that way, because there is sort of that level of just like, here we go, who knows what's going to happen next? Does someone flub a line? Do we have to cover for someone? Because it's, a rehearsal and looser, and like people were just sort of throwing in more gags, like when things just sort of cropped up or went wrong, or, a lot of things didn't really crystallize until those last two pseudo shows, pseudo rehearsals, whatever you want to call them. And I guess that makes sense, because like for those who are unaware, like we did our first sort of full run, which we didn't even get all the way through, on like a Sunday, Monday, something like that. And then Friday or Thursday, actually, we were opening and like performing for people. And I remember Phil came up to me like day of, like, maybe 6 hours before. It's like, hey, if you want somebody to come in and see this, let me know. So like, what? But yeah, no, it was just, there was just something about it where it was ephemeral, like RJ put it. It's almost indescribable in a way. But I guess it was raw, it was fun, and that's all we could really have asked for. So.
And like piggybacking off of what everyone said, the number one thing I believe that made the show what it made into, basically, it was when you were watching the show, it was not the traditional show where you go in, sit down, watch a show, clap when it's done. It was so much of just, all right, like Connor said, just go. It was just live in the moment. Like the audience were in the moment, the actors, the crew, everyone, while they were working, acting. It was basically a whole big rehearsal during the show. So it's crazy to be part of it, especially being a freshman. I was a freshman last year, so it was my first show ever at IU, and I was just so happy and so confused because I didn't really know how the IU productions went, or like what exactly happens in them. So while I was acting, I was learning way more than I was acting. So I was like, okay, and yeah, it was just a beautiful show, and I'm so happy that my first IU production was The Servant of Two Masters.
Well, I'm sorry more people didn't get to see the show, but I know it was an unforgettable production that you guys did. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks,
Thank
Taylor.
you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Taylor.
All right. So now we'd like to bring on our new playwriting professor, Diana Grisanti, for an interview. Hello, Diana. How are you?
Hi, Taylor. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you quarantining from?
I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, so about 2 hours from Bloomington.
Okay. And just to start, tell us a little bit about your influences and mentors you've had as a playwright and how they have informed what you do now.
Yeah, so many. Gosh, there are so many good writers, past and present. So someone who has really influenced me is Sherry Cramer. She's an amazing playwright, and she teaches all over the place, but she taught me when I was an undergrad at the University of Iowa. And then she taught me again when I was in grad school at the University of Texas at Austin. And I had the pleasure of assistant dramaturging one of her plays. But Sherry talks about how a play happens in the mind of the audience. So really a playwright's job is to craft a perception shift for the audience. So it's telling a story, but it's doing it in a way that that it unfolds before you, revealing itself as it goes. Sherry also talks about how a play is a prism, so every moment in a play is reflecting on several other moments in the play. And so I always, think about that when I'm writing. Other influences, one of my other grad school mentors is Stephen Dietz. And Stephen is sort of the master of keeping the story moving, like turn after turn after twist after turn. And something he said, probably like my first week of grad school was, whatever you think the last moment of your play is, what if that happened at the end of Act 1? And then what happened from there? So just in terms of like spinning a story and breaking a story, Stephen was really instrumental in helping me with plot and narrative. So other people I love, Tish Jones was a professor of mine at the University of Iowa. She was an acting professor, and I worked with her on the Darwin Turner Action Theater, which was an outreach program. We went into schools and did, we staged folk tales and other stories. But Tish is amazing. She was arrested like 5 or 6 times during the Civil Rights Movement, the one in the 60s, not the current one that we're in now. But her art and her activism was never not tied together. And that was hugely influential for me. So those are the influences I know, but I mean, so many great writers in the world who I love and hold dear.
Those are good lessons learned from each of them.
Yeah.
So what kind of things do you hope to bring to the IU playwriting program?
Well, one thing I definitely hope to do is just continue the amazing work of my predecessors. I love Peter Gill, and I hope to keep the program going as strongly as he was as he has sort of created. I think Peter has an amazing sense of humor, and I think he likes plays with a good sense of humor, and humor is very important to me, not just as like comic relief, but I think laughter and being able to craft a good joke is a really important part of theater, and laughing together in a room. What I wouldn't give to laugh together in a room with a bunch of people. So keeping that alive. I also, there are a lot of ways to be a playwright. There's not just one path. And so really part of my, the way I see playwriting and the way that I teach playwriting is it's sort of choose your own adventure. Everybody's path is circuitous and strange. And you kind of have, this sounds silly, but you do have to embrace the journey. And, if someone offers you a gig, like, you should probably take it because you don't know what's going to happen next. So just thinking about theater more holistically as a part of a life that one builds, and how to create a practice that is healthy physically, mentally, creating a practice that is, in harmony with other things that you want in life. And then I think I'm super excited about the 3 writers who are at IU now, and excited for the ones to come. I really do feel like we're in the middle of a theatrical renaissance, and like we're rebuilding the American theater in our own image, which is really exciting. So I hope to bring that, and I can't wait to meet everybody. I'm pumped.
So, what you've written in the past, and then what other plays that you're drawn to.
Yeah, let's see, I have a little list. So this summer I was supposed to be going out to Creede, Colorado to work at Creede Repertory Theater on a bilingual musical called El Guayabo, the Guava Tree, that I was writing with Emiliano Messies, who's a really amazing Argentinian or New Yorker, by the way, of Argentina, composer. So we were working on that. It was supposed to tour all over Colorado and Kansas, but of course it was shut down. But hopefully that'll happen next summer. So right before lockdown, not right before, but in January, I opened the premiere of my play Lawbreakers, A Fast and Furious History of Women's Suffrage. That opened at Stage One Family Theater in Louisville. It's the big sort of flagship children's theater here. And it was for the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. So I was hoping this play would have a bigger life since it is the 100th anniversary. And I'm like, maybe other people will do it in 2020. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So hopefully people will still care about suffrage once COVID-19 is over. But that's that's a play that's near and dear to me. And, thousands of high school and middle school students saw it. And it was really amazing to watch the student matinees and hear people getting excited about Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth. It was very cool. So those things. I'm about to start my first radio play for Audible Theater. I pitched some ideas. The producers are excited, so I'm going to start writing some pages. And it's such a huge stroke of luck that I'm working on this during the quarantine, because it feels, it's a good time for audio theater. So that's something I'm working on.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Diana. I'm so excited to have you here at the department. I know everybody else is too.
I'm excited too. Thanks so much for having me, Taylor.
Stay safe out there.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that's Diana Grisanti, and now we are going to shift gears and continue our tribute to the musical theater class of 2021, my class, the upcoming seniors. So up first, we have a performance from George Mulder and an interview after that, and he's going to be singing "Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear" by Elvis Presley.
Baby, let me be your loving teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck, lead me anywhere. Oh, let me be your teddy bear. I don't want to be your tiger, 'cause tigers play too rough. I don't want to be your lion, 'cause lions ain't the kind you love enough. I just wanna be your teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck, lead me anywhere. Oh, let me be your teddy bear. Baby, let me be around you every night. Run your fingers through my hair and cuddle me real tight. Oh, let me be your teddy bear. I don't want to be your tiger, 'cause tigers play too rough. I don't want to be your lion, 'cause lions ain't the kind you love enough. I just want to be your teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck, lead me anywhere. Oh, let me be your teddy bear. Oh, let me be your teddy bear. Just wanna be your teddy bear.
That's George Mulder. Now, George is working at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio this summer. So we pre-recorded his interview because he is at work right now doing a show. So we are getting that pulled up right now, our pre-recorded interview with George Mulder. Hi, George. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So you are at Cedar Point right now in shows there. Tell us about how that's been going, what you've been doing, and how Cedar Point is keeping you and the guests safe while you're still doing performances.
Yeah, it's been really crazy, but they're taking a lot of measures to make it really safe for us and also for the park guests. So we come in and do a temperature check every day. We've done that since day one of rehearsals. So they like check our temperature, make sure we're not feverish, and give us a wristband to wear for the rest of the day to make sure that everyone knows that we are in the right temperature range. Then when we were doing rehearsals, those were all completely spread out, and we would wear masks whenever we weren't like dancing. And then when we were dancing, we would have a cone that was 6 feet apart from other people. So like the entire show that I'm doing, which is called Beach Blanket Beagle, is fully spread out 6 feet apart. Like it's fully choreographed like that, and all the traffic and all the backstage, everything is 6 feet apart. And we wear masks at all times until our places call. So we wear them like to and from the stage, in and out of the park, all that. And then all the guests also have to wear masks at all times. And there's a lot of like social distancing rules that are involved in going to the park, and they also have to be health screened to come in, and there's a certain capacity. So there's just a lot of, it's kind of crazy, but it's really, they're doing a good job of keeping it really safe for everyone. And I feel pretty good doing it. So yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear how they're adapting to things. So tell us a little bit about some of the shows you've done at IU and what you've taken from those different productions.
Yeah, so I have had the wonderful opportunities to be in a lot of things at IU. Some of my favorite things were being Swing in Wonderful Town. That was really fun because I had the opportunity to like cover all the ensemble roles and learn all those tracks, and like get to learn all the dances and sometimes get to stand in for people. So that was a really good experience for me. And then another really cool experience that was pretty unique was being in a play called Only Child, which was written by one of the MFA playwrights, Aaron Ricciardi, 2 years ago. And so I got to work with him throughout the whole rehearsal process and got to be in a main stage play and like get to work with the playwright, which is really amazing. And then most recently, probably my favorite show I've been at IU so far was Crazy for You. Just because it was like such a fun show. It was really challenging to learn all the tap routines, and like just, it was really like made me feel good about like all the tap training I had done over the last couple years. And it was just like such a fun experience, even though we never got to perform it. It was like the couple weeks of rehearsal that we had were a blast, and I really wish we could have done it, but obviously we couldn't.
Yeah, I do too. So you're going to be a senior now, like me. What advice do you have for incoming freshmen?
I would say just take advantage of any performance opportunity you can. Even like all this digital stuff, it's like, it's totally worth it to just be doing everything that you can. And like, even if it gets really busy and hard, like obviously like you have to manage your time well, but like some of my most rewarding experiences at IU have been like in the shows that I've done, and like even doing like student run shows in like random places and like random times. Like I've just like tried to keep myself busy almost the entire time I've been there, and those have been like the most memorable experiences and like memories that I'll just like remember forever.
Well, I've got one more question for you. What is your dream role?
My like long-term dream role has always been Link in Hairspray, or really any of the people in Hairspray, but like especially Link. And then more recently, I really would love to play Kristoff in Frozen, which is like only on Broadway right now, or I guess on the tour too, but like hopefully one day.
One day. Well, you'd be great in both those roles. I'm glad you're getting to perform this summer. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's good to see you.
You too. Love you.
Love you too. All right. Thanks, George.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that's George Mulder. Up next, we have senior Maya McQueen singing Stars and the Moon from Songs for a New World.
but I met a man without a dollar to his name, had no traits of any value but his smile. I met a man who had no yearn or claim to fame, who was content to let life pass him for a while. And I was sure that all I'd ever wanted was a life like the movie stars there. But he kissed me right here and he said, I'll give you stars, the moon, and soul to guide you, and I promise I'll never go. I'll give you hope to bring out all the light inside you and a strength that'll help you grow. I'll give you truth and a future that's 20 times better than any Hollywood plot. And I thought, you know, I'd rather have a yacht. I met a man who lived his life out on the road, who left a wife and kids in Portland on a whim. I met a man whose fire and passion always showed, who asked if I would spare a week to ride with him. And I was sure all I'd ever wanted was a life that was scripted and planned. And he said to me, you don't understand. I'll give you stars, the moon, and the open highway, and a river beneath your feet. I'll give you days full of dreams if you travel my way, and a summer you can't repeat. I'll give you nights full of passion, days adventure, no strings, just warm summer rain. And I thought, you know, I'd rather have champagne. I met a man who had a fortune in the bank, who had retired at age 30, set for life. I met a man and didn't know which stars to thank, and then he asked one day if I would be his wife. And I looked up, and all that I could think of was the life I had dreamt I would live. And I said to him, what will you give? I'll give you cars and a townhouse in Turtle Bay and a fur and a diamond ring. And we'll get married in Spain in my yacht today, and we'll honeymoon in Beijing. And you'll meet stars at the parties I throw at my villas in Nice and Paris in June. And I thought, okay. And I took a breath, and I got my yacht, and the years went by, and it never changed, and it never grew, and I never dreamed. And I woke one day, and I looked around, and I thought, my God, I'll never have the moon.
All right, we'd like to bring Maya in now for an interview. Hello, Maya.
Hi, Taylor.
How are ya?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you currently on the map?
I'm currently in Seattle, Washington. I'm home with my parents right now.
Fun, fun. And so tell us a little bit about the shows that you've done at IU and what you've taken from those different experiences.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel super lucky because I feel like every show I did at IU, like I learned such a important thing, but I would say like the most transformative performances for me were probably this past year when I got the opportunity to do Big Fish and the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which you know. I mean, I think both of those shows were just like huge turning points for me as like a person and a performer. Big Fish was like this huge, like daunting challenge for me because it was my first main stage musical and it was my first time in a leading role in a main stage, which was like a really scary, daunting task. And I think that it really taught me how important like hard work is and preparation, because I channeled all my stress and my nerves and anxiety about that show, and I put it into working and singing my songs every day and making sure that those notes were there and creating this character. And for the first time, I really felt like my work like actually paid off, and I saw the reward, because by the time I got to shows, all the work that I had put in, I knew it was there, you know, and I knew it was there so I could almost forget about it because I knew the note would come. I knew I would do what I needed to do, and I could genuinely like let loose and have fun and just kind of enjoy the moment. And because of that, I feel like I found myself doing things that like I didn't even know I could do. And like I think that's the coolest thing ever, to like surprise yourself. And it really taught me like if you put in the work and you prepare and you have fun, like it's just going to be the best experience ever. And that's really what Big Fish was for me. In terms of Hunchback, like that was crazy because it was like a complete 180, literally like 2 weeks after Big Fish closed. So, I mean, that was, crazy. Such a different role and such a different show. But I would say I took a lot of what I learned in Big Fish and tried to apply it to that show. And the number one thing that I think I walked away from that show with was like, it's so important to lose yourself in the story, but also with a show like Hunchback, that's like such a devastating, like emotionally taxing show. I had to learn how to put it all out there and go to that really scary, dark spot. And then, you know, how to take the costume off and walk out of the theater and see my parents and be me again. Because, you know, you always hear actors like saying that kind of thing, but it's another thing when you actually kind of feel like weighed down by what you just did. So I think my big lesson from that was to leave things at the theater and then to know who I am at the end of the day and be able to pick it up the next night, but also to be able to go home and have a life and be normal, you know? So I think those are two really important lessons I'm really happy about.
Yeah, those are great lessons to take, and you were great in both of those shows.
Thanks, Taylor.
So now that you're a senior in the musical theater program, what advice would you give to an incoming freshman?
Yeah, I mean, that's so hard because, I mean, especially now, like their year is going to look so different. I mean, all of our years are going to look so different. So, I mean, I would say my number one thing is like, it's a tough transition for everybody from high school to college, and especially from high school to like a program like this. And I would say that, you know, there's going to be moments that they feel like a bit lost or upset or confused or dejected. And I would say that like when you get accepted into this program, you're also getting accepted into a community, you know, and a family. And it can feel lonely sometimes, but like I just hope that they know that every single person, all the seniors, all the juniors, all the sophomores have been there at some point in their journey in this program and could be there right now. So as weird and as like uncomfortable and awkward as it is, I hope they know that they should always ask to talk to people, because we're all there to help and support each other and lift each other up. And I hope that they know that this really is a community, and especially in these weird times, I hope that we can all kind of get through it together.
Retweet that. So all of our future plans are a little disrupted because of COVID. But my last question for you is, what is your dream role?
Yes, no, that is literally the easiest question in the world for me. My dream role for literally years has been the baker's wife in Into the Woods. That show is like my ride or die. I love it more than anything. And I love that role. It has such a special place in my heart. So, I mean, yeah, I gotta say the baker's wife.
That's a great answer. Well, thank you, Maya, for being here. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Taylor. See you soon.
Bye-bye. All right, our last musical theater senior today is Allie Demers singing an original song, and then we'll bring her on for an interview. Here's Allie Demers.
I remember the first time I saw a film that made me cry, an adaptation of my favorite book. And ever since that day, I can't keep the tears at bay. A bad habit of empathy I just can't overlook. While I might be oversharing, I'm sorry if I am, but I find that this one question is a test for any man. It tells me of your character and if your heart is true. So do you cry at movies too? Now everything I see somehow will resonate with me. There's not a film that hasn't left me moved. Even theater from Black Rose or my favorite TV shows. No matter what the meaning of my soul still is soothed. Well, I might be overwhelming, I'm sorry if I am, but I still find this one question is a test for any man. It tells me of your character and if your heart is true. So do you cry at movies too? As the sleeping soundtrack of the orchestra accompanies the framing of the camera, the lovers reunite in harmony, and from my seat I am weeping shamelessly. While I might be oversharing, I'm sorry if I am, but I find that this one question is a test for any man. It tells me of your character and if your heart is true. So do you cry at movies too?
That's Allie Demers. Allie, are you there?
I think so.
Hello, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi.
How are you?
You too. I'm all right. I've been better.
Yes, you are.
It's a little hectic right now here in New England.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, there was go ahead. No.
I was just going to ask the question. So, tell us about the productions that you've been involved in at IU and what you've taken from those things.
Well, I was in a couple of plays my sophomore year before I was in any of the musicals. So I was in Vinegar Tom and Titus Andronicus, and then my junior year I was in Big Fish and Crazy for You. And then interspersed in between those, I was in Open House, which is an independent project, Jasper and Deadland my freshman year with university players, and most recently, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, directed by this wonderful gentleman right here. And while every single show has been incredibly different, and every single show has had a new challenge and a new genre, something new to take away from, all of them kind of exist in the same world of if you put in the work, then you give 110, you get 110 out of it. And but I also found recently that doing the work is incredibly important, and you'll get the best outcome by doing the most work you can possibly do. But kindness and relationships, especially within the cast that you're with for 3 months or however long, is just as important, in making sure that you are kind and respectful to all of the people around you, because you are kind of stuck with them and you have to be so intimate with them in these productions that we do. It makes it a lot easier, I find, when you're nice to each other. So that's kind of my big takeaway.
Yeah, we can never repeat that enough. So that song you did was an original song.
Yes.
how did you get started writing songs, and how has that work developed over the years?
I kind of fell into songwriting. I think it didn't really happen on purpose. I've always written songs. Like when I was little, I would just kind of write little jingles. I wrote one about swinging at one point, I think when I was 8. The first song I wrote, I was 9-ish, I think, and it was called Sorrow. And I recently found the original lyrics, and it is sad. It is a depressing song, and I have no idea where it came from. The first song I wrote with like piano accompaniment, I was 11, and it was a year after I had stopped taking piano lessons. It was like I renounced the piano. I hated it. And then Adele's Someone Like You came out. And this is around 2010, 2011. And I was like, I could play that song. So I learned how to play it. And then I learned how to play other songs on the piano, including Drops of the Jupiter by Train. And from what I learned structurally from learning those songs, I was like, oh, let me just move these chords around and make my own song and write my own lyrics. And so I wrote my first song when I was 11. And so then it kind of turned into a diary / therapy session for me through high school and middle school. I didn't think about it as something I could do as a career, something that was a job. It was just something that was a way to express myself creatively through not only words, but then sound. You know, I could take the words a step further by banging on the piano in minor keys. And then that kind of didn't help me as much as it used to, as I got older. And songwriting turned into, I realized that I could, do it as a career. And it turned into more of another creative outlet, another way to, push the boundaries of my creativity, and another way to tell stories. And I think the actor in me really loves to tell stories and come up with stories. And for some reason, songwriting just happens to be the medium that I like the most in that sense.
Well, and you certainly have a talent for it. So I've got one more question for you. It's the one I've been asking everybody. What is your dream role?
Okay, contrary to Maya, I really hate this question. I never know how to answer it. No matter the new show that opens, it changes all the time. So currently, I would love to play Eurydice in Hadestown. I also would love to play Satine in Moulin Rouge. And but I think kind of the basic actor question. Or answer to this question is that I would love to originate a role. I'd love to create something and be the first person to do it, and have it be entirely my own, and then see how other people interpret that same role.
Well, I could see you doing all of that, and I want your first vinyl record. So you just keep me posted.
I'll mail order it to you.
Thank you. Well, thanks for being here, Allie. Stay safe in Connecticut with the storm.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being here. All right. So that is our tribute to the class of 2021 for tonight. Our final interview today is with Linda Pizzano, the chair of the IU Department of Theater, Drama, and Contemporary Dance. So let's welcome Linda in now. Hi, hey. Linda. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Taylor?
I'm good. Welcome to IU Theater Thursdays. Where are you quarantining currently?
I am in the great city of Bloomington, Indiana, and getting ready for a lot of students to return.
A lot of students. So let's jump right into it. In what ways is the department adapting to prepare for this weird year we have coming up?
Oh, great. Well, a lot of ways. I mean, the list is so long, and I'm really proud of our faculty and staff. They've worked tirelessly over the summer. So our two major spaces, the theaters, the Wells Metz and the Halls Theater, have been struck and cleaned up after the after the sudden cancellation of productions. And so there was a lot of work to do to get us back in order, but those rooms will be utilized so that we can have classes with physical spacing. And then it's also, of course, in the afternoons, the halls will be used by design and technology students to continue their work. Our courses are all, we spent a lot of time figuring out how to keep the sort of artistic and intellectual rigor in our courses, even if they go online. So we have courses online and hybrid, face-to-face. But the reality of the situation is every class has to be prepared to go online if something happens. And so you sort of have to prepare two classes in a way for that. I think the biggest thing that we wanted to talk about was how do we stay engaged as a department? We have such a unique department on this campus in that we all see each other daily, and that's, 7 days a week and sometimes all day long. And so we know each other really well. And I think that unique attribute is something that we want to continue to cultivate, especially with new students coming in. We have new faculty coming in, and we certainly want our seniors to have an excellent year and our third year grad students. So we had to re-envision our season, and that was no easy task. And it wasn't just re-envisioning it for engagement. We have so many things in the world are changing, and we have so many important questions that we have to ask and address. And so we really wanted to start doing that this year with our season. So yes, it's a lot of work. So we're doing a lot. Those are some highlights.
Lots going on.
Yeah.
So what changes have you implemented in the department since you became chair, and what are you hoping to work on, to focus on in the next couple of years?
Great. Those are great questions, Taylor. Thank you for asking. I think, one of the things that's really important to me is that we see theater and dance without silos. In a training program, we have to have cultivate such a respect for each other as artists and makers and scholars. And so one of the things is sort of how do we, it doesn't sound really glamorous, but how do we create policies and procedures that break down those silos, that cultivate a sense of community and provide shared governance from the faculty of how we can work together to create and implement our curriculum, our programming, and essentially how we recruit and retain students. So that policies and procedures, I implemented a task force which has done tremendous work in helping us look at our create bylaws and to help us look at equity and inclusion and trajectories for things like promotion and so forth, merit raises for faculty and staff. Again, they don't sound glamorous, but they're really important because the faculty and staff, they're the ones that are cultivating this environment. So you want the environment to be conducive to a good place to work and to create your work. The MFA in dramaturgy was huge. Once we knew that the PhD was on hiatus, I just thought to myself, if we're focusing on graduate programs for the graduate training programs, if we're focusing on the MFA and not the PhD, we need to bring in a part of that MFA world, a part of that the creation of work that asks questions, that helps us maintain the integrity of the process of creating new work, of restaging work, of adapting work, of looking at work for the moment, for the now, and what speaks to us. So the MFA in dramaturgy is something that was really close to my heart in making sure that we laid the groundwork for that. And we're so fortunate to have Tanya Palmer leading that and Madison Colquette here to teach that as well. Also the gender balance. We now have a balance of male identifying and female identifying faculty and staff. When I got here, I was the only female. And so it's good to see that we have a lot of different thinkers in terms of the way we approach things from gender perspectives. What I'm still working on, well, 2020 has been a unique year. I'm trying to not say unprecedented, but it has been certainly a unique year, and it's taught us a lot about patience, empathy, compassion, social justice. It's forcing us to sort of really reckon with truths, narratives we thought were true, and really rework and center our focus to thinking about how we're creating theater and dance. And so one of the things that I'd like to do as we think about, uprooting this tree and replanting it for the future, there are 2 years left in this term I'm serving. And in those 2 years, I would really like us, we have a climate committee, and I've just written the policy that we'll be voting on very soon for that and the action steps. And the climate committee is not about, climate change, although, environment is important in that, but it's about the climate we cultivate. And so that is representatives from all areas in our department, including student representatives, as you know. And I really want us to ask questions about where we're looking at structural racism, where we're looking at oppression, thinking about actionable steps in those 2 years that can either be made or the groundwork is laid for the future. And that means, looking at not just our coursework and the glamorous part of, it's not just changing titles on our season. It's what we're teaching and how we're teaching. And I think we also need to think as a designer, I would love to see in the 2022 season, a show that's completely upcycled, fair trade, and shopped at vendors owned by BIPOC shop owners and business owners. I think we really need to think about the, how we are doing our work in the world, not just what we're saying, but the methods with which we're creating work. Boy, that was a lot. Sorry. Thanks for asking that question.
Of course, it's such important work, though, and we're all grateful to you for your leadership in that. I'm curious, how have you stayed creative in quarantine?
Well, figuring out how we're going to run the 2021 school year. Actually, though, it's been really exciting. I love to cook. I have hundreds of cookbooks, literally hundreds. I have lots of books, but I have had a great time spending it with the band. That's my family, and my dogs, and gardening. I'm growing things I've never thought I would. Like I have olive trees and lemon trees and blueberries, and so I'm doing some, really researching and doing some fun stuff. Plus drawing and writing and reading.
That's fun. You're just doing it. You're jack of all trades.
Oh.
My last question for you is you're doing all this departmental leadership stuff, but you're also a very prolific costume designer. What show do you wish you could costume design for that you have not designed costumes for yet?
Well, okay. So there's so many. I have designed the ballet version of Dracula, but I have never designed a theatrical version of Dracula. And it's not so much a specific version of Dracula. I think there should be like 10 adaptations, and I want to do each one in a different style, like, the Edward Gorey style or the Frida Kahlo style, or I would love to do at some point design Dracula.
Dracula. I can't wait to see that. The most stylish Dracula that ever Dracula'd. So thank you for being here for an interview. Now, to cap off our broadcast tonight, it is time for our season announcement. So I'm going to turn it over completely to Linda to announce the 2020-2021 IU Theater and Dance season.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that is here ready to get started on our new season, we are going to start off the full semester with Asylum Anguish. Stories from the Border. This is developed, written, directed by good friends of the department, Jane Page and Gavin Cameron Webb. And this will go up in September. The second part of our season is a solo spotlight series, and this will be a digital event through both the fall and spring semester. And this is completely developed by IU theater and dance students, so yet to be announced. We'll be having call outs for that soon. And the co-creative directing team for that is Sheree Bohannon and Jenny McKnight. We also have Street Scenes. Street Scenes is co-creative directed by Ray Fellman and Rich Rowland, and this is all season long, and this will be our only in-person work that we'll be doing this year, and this is on the IUB campus. And so just to give you an idea of what it is, join IU theater and dance students as they pop up across campus with moments of performance, shared experience, at least 6 feet apart, please, and creative expression. Presented in partnership with the Arts and Humanities Council, and please don't forget to wear your masks. We also have a series that will have 2 productions in the fall and 2 in the spring, and that is Amplified, a series of plays by Black authors, co-created, creative directed by Leraldo Anzaldúa and Sheree Bohannon. And we'll see those in October and February of the upcoming season. Barnett, or How Ladies of Good Breeding Are Induced to Murder, by Jen Silverman. This is one of our Big 10 commissioned plays. We're so excited to have this on our season, directed by second-year MFA director Jamie Anderson, with music direction by Grace Leckie, and that will be in October. Next up is More Perfect Places, and this is created in collaboration with Seth Bockley, Liz Knopfziger, and Tanya Palmer. And this is a digital event which will have its first reading and presentation in November, but then come back in April as they've gone through and workshopped the More Perfect Places. We have the faculty dance concert, which for the first time will actually be in the fall semester, Sounding Bodies, the Winter Dance Concert, directed by Liz Shea, and that will be streamed December 15th through the 19th. Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare, directed by guest director Henry Warnitz, and that's a digital event which will be streamed March 2nd through the 6th. At First Sight, a new play festival. We're so excited to have our second and third year playwrights, MFA playwrights, present their work. Our third year playwright, Kristen Eve Cato, will be presenting a new play directed by guest director David Cote. Those of you who have been with us for some time know David Cote is an alum of our MFA directing program. We also have a new play by second year playwright Jane Dealey, and that's directed by Jenny McKnight. These the festival begins March 23rd and wraps up April 3rd. We also have a spring musical, and that is a big surprise. So I'm just going to tell you the big musical is happening in the spring, directed by RJ Hottie, music direction by our own Ray Fellman. It's a digital event, April 20th through the 24th, and it is a surprise, and we look forward to sharing that with you soon. And we're going to wrap up our year with our own senior capstone choreography showcase with our BFA senior contemporary dance class of 2021, New Moves. And this is directed by new faculty, Associate Professor Beatrice Capote. And that's a digital event that opens May 4th through the 8th. Thank you so much. And we are so excited to present this season for you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you. All right, that is our show tonight. We are done going every other week, but we will continue to broadcast throughout the year. Stay tuned for more announcements about that. Also, our full production info about the coming season will be available on our website sometime next week. And again, special thanks to Justin Smooz, our technical director, Richard Rowland, Madison Colquette, Sheree Bohannon, and Laura Judson, who helped organize this broadcast. And we hope to see you again at our next episode. I'm Taylor Ward, and this is IU Theater Thursdays.